Sarah Frugani with KENS 5 News Now. A driver who was supposedly trying to stop a reckless driver from doing donuts ended up getting shot. Police say the young victim was driving home around 10 last night when he spotted a driver doing donuts in a neighborhood on Timber Hill Drive on the northwest side. The victim then decided to drive around in circles to try and stop that driver. Suddenly, police say that person started shooting. The young man was hit on the shoulder but was treated unseen. Officers are now looking for a blue Dodge Charger that the shooter was driving. If you have any information, call SAPD. The store clerk caught in the middle of a bizarre shooting inside a convenience store says everyone was confused when that gun went off.
I heard the pop, something pop. Nothing loud really, So I looked around really quick to see if someone busted a bottle or so.
Turns out a man dropped his backpack and a gun inside it went off, hitting a 31-year-old shopper. Police say this is video from Sunday night as everything was unfolding at the Stop and Shop off of North New Braunfels. You can see the man highlighted on the bottom right of the screen dropping the bag. The owner of that backpack walked off and has not been caught. The man who was hit suffered non-life-threatening injuries. If you recognize this suspect, call SAPD. The woman police say ran over her neighbor in their northwest side neighborhood after a feud is now charged with murder. 58-year-old Anna O'Rourke is accused of killing 56-year-old Stephen Sanders. Apparently, they had been feuding for years. Neighbors tell us O'Rourke had issues with several people in the area, while the man was a nice guy who mowed their lawns and fixed their fences.
We try to all be neighbors here, but she was like our main problem, nonstop fighting. She kept getting worse and worse.
Actually built a tree house in my backyard for me. Taught me how to cut wood.
O'Rourke is now being held at the Bexar County Jail on a $150,000 bond. A suspected serial killer who admitted to killing 2 people and could be connected to at least 10 other cold cases dating back to 1996 will spend the rest of his life in prison. Raul Mesa pled guilty to killing a woman in 2019 and a man in 2023. Police say he also confessed to a double murder in San Antonio after he was arrested in Austin last year. Mesa was first convicted of killing an 8-year-old girl in the early 90s, but served less than half of his 30-year prison sentence before being released. And as part of his plea deal now, he'll avoid the death penalty, but will not be eligible for parole. At last check, SAPD was working with Austin police to confirm if he's connected to other cases. Postal workers in San Antonio are joining others across the country for a day of action to raise awareness to their current conditions. The group is part of the American Postal Workers Union, which plans similar demonstrations in 90 other cities across the country. Workers are complaining about a decline in staffing, among other things, and they want the government to better invest in the postal service. This all comes ahead of a very important time for traditional mail, with the November general election just over a month out. Southwest Airlines will not get its way after a federal judge ruled in favor of the city of San Antonio. The airline filed a lawsuit trying to delay the start of lease agreements between the San Antonio International Airport and 8 other airliners. However, the judge ruled the lease agreements can start today as initially planned. Southwest has been fighting to get a space in the new terminal, while the city wants the airline to stay in its current terminal. Southwest would not sign a lease agreement and will now have to pay millions more in rent to the city.
That we've talked about is the use and lease agreement is critical to how we operate going forward and how we fund additional projects like the new terminal.
For now, the airline will move forward with its lawsuit against the city. Dozens of newly hatched horned lizards are set to be released back to a restored wildlife site. This is a way to help restore the wild population of lizards in our backyard. Now, you might remember in August, we told you that these little guys had just hatched at the San Antonio Zoo. Since 2017, the zoo says more than 208 Texas horned lizards have been released into the wild. As for today's forecast, Bon Mirales.
Oh man, I remember growing up in the plains out there in Fort Worth playing with the horned frogs. Anyway, 96 for a high. Lots of sunshine, a hot day, about as hot as it gets for this time of the year.
Brings back memories, doesn't it, Paul? And that's KENS 5 News Now. I'm Sarah Frugani.